Hello, happy Friday, Internet. Happy May 15th, 2020. We're halfway through May. Congratulations. Time's going fast, huh? It really is. I hope you are all having a beautiful day and look forward to a beautiful weekend. This is going to be my last stream for the week. Uh, Maybe surprise spontaneous stream this weekend sometime. So maybe I'll see you, but probably not. I look forward to enjoying a nice weekend, maybe go for some long bike rides, of course, take Bitcoin out for some nice walks. Uh, yes, the weather is just absolutely gorgeous here in Vegas. I hope it's gorgeous wherever you are. So today I am going to speak on the lockdown in India and all of the politics around the lockdown in India. So India has been on lockdown since late March, and originally was only supposed to be on lockdown for a little less than a month. And But then it keeps getting extended. The lockdown keeps getting extended, and so there's a lot of confusion as of right now. Like if you were to go look at the news and try to figure out how the lockdown is going, it would be May 17th. So today's May 15th in India. It's the 16th already. So according to the latest news, that would be just in a few days or by tomorrow evening is coming out of lockdown. But I have been hearing some very different stories from our partners in Darjeeling specifically that have told me very different story about what they're going through during this lockdown. Very different than even also the other updates that I have been giving you guys about what's going on in India. So the last updates that I was giving is that, yes, the lockdown's extended till May 17th, but that in about mid-April or so, tea estates were allowed, or tea companies were allowed to start the factories back up at, there he is. Hey, Bitcoin, say hello to everybody. That tea factories could open back up and start producing product at a 50% labor capacity. So 50% of however many workers they usually would host either in their tea garden or their factory would be allowed to come out. So according to the news, tea is being produced. Factories are allowed to work. But what I'm hearing from our contacts is that story is very different, that people are actually not working. And the term that really... Hi, Jonelle. Thank you for saying hi to Bitcoin. He says hello too. He's a little tired. He just ate a bunch of smoothies, so he just wants to take a nap. But what has been told to me by my friends, which, I take that as like, a lot more valid about what's going on than just some news article that you can find online. What's actually happening on the ground. That's very much more what I'm interested in than, just seeing in the news that everything is fine and tea is being produced, prices are going up. So my friend said that they are not even allowed to leave their house, that the whole region of Darjeeling has been labeled as a red zone. So I'm thinking, what is a red zone? So I went ahead and took some look online. And so this is all associated with India's lockdown, describing, the level of stay at home or the level of lockdown for different areas of India. And it's all based on the number of cases in each region. And as soon as the number of cases starts to drop, then they are, changing red level, yellow level, or orange level, I believe. Let me look it up. And these colors are important. Okay, so there's a green zone, red zone, and yellow zone. And as of right now, Darjeeling is deemed a red zone. I looked this up and it's true. Like the whole area of Darjeeling is considered a red zone. So legally, people aren't supposed to be going to work. Even like restaurants are not supposed to be opened. So I'm like looking at this. This is pretty extreme, and really wondering how are people getting by, even in regards to work, like getting to work and having the opportunity to work and make money. But even the more basic necessities than money is your actual food or your actual resources that you need to get access to. How is that happening right now? The more basic seems, quite confusing. So what was said to me directly from my friend from the Yankee Tea Factory, where we get all of the Darjeeling teas on our catalog, is that they are deemed a red zone, so they are not able to even leave their house or do any kind of work. And according to the code, red zones are not even supposed to have restaurants open for to-go service. Now, green zones and orange zones are allowed to have certain allowances and moving around in the community, but definitely the red zones. So it seems pretty dire, and so then, communication has been very limited from our friends. I'd imagine, they are having connectivity issues and this also personal connectivity issues too. You're going through so much like this. You don't want to be sitting on your phone and texting about information that you don't really want to talk about. But they did want to just give me that update that situation is bleak. So and then also, there's supposed to be another announcement from the Prime Minister about what's going to happen on May 17th, right? Because that's hey, good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. This smells so nice. Speaking of Darjeeling, I'm drinking Darjeeling tea now. It is something floral and beautiful. And also, pay my respect to the place and the people of Darjeeling by drinking their tea. Handmade. Very organic. So the extension was till May 17th. That's in a few days. And the only articles I can find are saying that the Prime Minister is meant to put out a statement about situation of the lockdown. There has been, like last week, there has been some releases of what they expect to do on May 17th. So May 17th is not just going to be like an absolute lifting of all the lockdown. What they're saying is that if your area is deemed a red zone, like Darjeeling, where they're not allowed to do anything, the lockdown will continue for them. And then if you're a green or orange zone, those would be the only places where there would be any type of lifting on the lockdown. That article did also say that the zones would be reevaluated by May 17th too. So there is some hope that by the 17th, by tomorrow, an area like Darjeeling, would see that lifted so that people can even get back to work, even like starting to do the other rest of the work in the community. Now there's another layer on top of all of this issue, that's associated with this issue, but is creating a completely different dynamic and issue in the area, is that, oh, Jonelle, I'm drinking a black tea. It's a black tea. A proper black tea, too, from Darjeeling. So, like the orthodox processing style of Darjeeling, that's very common, that muscatel Darjeeling tea that you usually see, especially on the first flush. This is actually a second flush, I believe, but on the first flush, they do stop the oxidation from fully going into black area, but it's called black tea. They call it orthodox black tea. But this is a proper black tea. You can actually see the oxidation level is, well, let's see, Instagram has got some weird neon colors going on, but you can see it's full leaf, beautiful, beautiful tea. Very floral, very beautiful. So the other area of concern in this whole issue is that Darjeeling itself, as well as other tea growing regions, has been experiencing exodus. So when I lived in Africa, in rural Africa, there was a similar concept called exodus, where typically the male members of the family will leave the village or leave the rural part where work and income and opportunity are quite limited. And we talked over this many times before, that tea labor is extremely limited in its capacity for mobilization and for developing, progress and profit and sustainability. So for years now, even decades, a lot of the men of the family have left to the cities to do other work that is brings in more. You like the Yankee green? So this is actually not Yankee. This is Narula. Well, his brand is called Camilla Sinensis. He's the one that has the tea shop in the town of Darjeeling. Narula's Tea Farm, which actually isn't far from Yankee's place. But his name is Bhavesh. Bhavesh Narula. Nice guy. He's local Gorkha. Just how Yankee, their whole family is local. His father planted the tea in his area, and he's uplifting the family's garden from being just a commodity green leaf supplier to the factories, which is typically what happens with the small tea growers in Darjeeling. Even if they are independent and having their own garden, they would only be harvesting their leaf and then selling it to the factory, which is the estates. Even some of the famous estates, actually all of them that you know of, they have some segment of their business which is processing tea from the small tea growers. But they don't get paid very well. They don't have any kind of empowerment, worse than even the workers. Because at least with the workers on the estates, the government has some type of accountability about how much they should be paid and what kind of benefits the estate needs to provide to them. That does happen. But with... yeah, I have some here. I'm not selling it, Jonelle. It's just a sample that I have, but definitely next time you come hang out, we could definitely drink some and you can try it. There's another tea I think you should try from Nepal. That's Sweet 16. We call it Sweet 16 because it was made by a 16-year-old. Really nice hand harvested, hand rolled, beautiful black tea from Nepal. So yeah, next time you hang out, Janelle, ask me about that tea. And I do have some of that for sale. Not enough to put on the catalog, but enough to sell out of the tea room. So if you come here, definitely would love to share that with you. So speaking of entrepreneurial young people, this is related to the big problem that's happening. Yesterday, an article went around through Facebook, written by. Let me see. I'm going to confirm this article. It was written in one of the major news, like newspapers of India, talking about this issue of the young people that have gone to the cities to work, and then as soon as the shutdown began, at the beginning of um, as soon as the shutdown began, people had to leave the city, right? Because like they weren't going to have work to do. Maybe they could hunker down in their apartment and just try to stick it out while they wait. But for the most part, these people all wanted to leave and go home. Um, and so, yeah, there's been an exodus back to the village. And in this article, which is not coming up for me right now, it's so strange. Come on. Let's see, maybe I can find it this way. Yeah, here we go. All right, so they're all coming back to the villages, and this article is written in Hindustan Times, so major, national level newspaper of India. Um, and the minimum wage here is 176 rupees a day, which is higher than the 90 rupees per day. So prior to seeing this number written, the minimum wage for tea garden workers in Darjeeling had been kind of like hidden information. Like if you go to the official minimum wage documents for India, every other wage is listed. There's a bunch of them because India allows each state to categorize all the different types of work and have a different minimum wage for every category of work, which is extremely odd and interesting. And 90 rupees per day used to be listed for West Bengal tea garden workers, but over the past few years there was like a law that got passed, and then that number was kind of written as to be determined. So now to see it here, I guess it got bumped up to 176. So that's the new minimum wage, which is still only a little over $2 a day to work. So what this article is saying is like kind of spinning a light, and they interview some of the tea garden managers, that this is actually a godsend, that these people, these community members, family members are moving back to the villages and are actually going to be a labor option for these struggling tea gardens, to pay them 176 rupees a day. And so my friend Debarati, who is a PhD feminist studies researcher that has spent a great deal of time in the Darjeeling area understanding the situation for the laborers in the tea gardens there, she was really sad to see that this media company is just focusing on this opportunity. And Yangu from Yankee Tea Factory, when she messaged me about the current status there and the struggles that they're feeling, she had cited this issue, that there are a lot more people in the village now because they came from the cities, their sons, their husbands, that had been in Delhi or had been in Mumbai or Calcutta, wherever they were living to work. They had all left the cities to come back. And now it's an issue of having more mouths to feed, and not having the ability to go out because they're all in a red zone. So they don't have the ability to go out and create things and create value in order to support themselves and to support their families. So it's just a multiple ended issue that's creating problems all around. And so, I've become quite apprehensive of any kind of media coming out of India. India is very well known, infamous for censoring the media, censoring the internet, censoring the public word, even. So when it comes to any kind of news article or perspective in that way, I am very skeptical of it and do believe the people that are on the ground and what they're saying. So I had a conversation about this issue, and there was another perspective that I had read about weeks ago about this happening in Assam, and the writer of that op-ed had said that this is actually an opportunity for these young people. They're mostly young people that are moving back to the village. This is an opportunity for them to bring some entrepreneurial spirit to the village and to the industry, which is much needed. Just like this tea that I'm drinking right now, Bhavesh really, wanted to honor his grandfather and his father, for planting the tea and for starting that opportunity for their family, which is no longer serving them in a positive way. They don't get a good price and they don't get empowerment in the industry with how it is. So he had to create his own path. And that's exactly what entrepreneurship is and what we should be supporting in entrepreneurship. So yeah, just always like to leave things on a positive note and, with that positive spin, not to say that this is the absolute truth in the future for, places like Darjeeling. But if you focus enough on that positive perspective, there's this magical thing that happens called manifestation. And that can happen. The craziest things can happen due to this type of energy. So that's something that we can apply in everything that we're dealing with right now. We are being bombarded with information and with articles and with expert this and expert that giving their opinion and perspective on how things are going, leading you to focus and think too much on it. And if you end up focusing on the negative, that's when the fear starts coming out, and when your empowerment is lost. Like, you lose a lot of power when you let the negative energy take over your thoughts and take over your flow. So as you're reading these kind of doom and gloom realities, these are realities. I'm not saying that we should question them and say that they're not true. They could be absolutely true, but just as negative things can happen, much more powerful positive things can happen too. And if we focus on those paths, then we can see those things happen. So hopefully we do see some progress and some entrepreneurial spirits come out of this dire situation. Yeah, it seemed pretty intense. There was a video I watched produced by the BBC, I believe, that was showing the situation in the big cities. They were in Delhi, and they were showing the day of the lockdown, the first day of the lockdown. It was hardcore. The government announced it. They gave them 4 days warning before the lockdown would happen. And day of the lockdown, right at midnight, the police were out with sticks, telling everybody to go home. And any kind of public transportation can't be working. All flights had been canceled, so you couldn't even fly to get where you needed. So you just had that 4-day warning period to get your stuff together and to go wherever you needed to go. Like if you wanted to move to the countryside to be with your family, you'd have to do it during that time. And then on day of the lockdown, there were still hundreds of thousands of people, migrant people that, weren't meant to be staying in the city, that were all trying to get out. And there was no trains running, there was no buses running, there was no way for them to get out of the city. And they were kind of stuck there. And then, if you were a tourist, that's what I didn't get. There was like this one family that they interviewed from the UK. They're a British family. And the hotel that they were staying in kicked them out when the shutdown happened because they had to shut down. Like their employees weren't going to be able to work. So they had to shut down the hotel and all the hotel guests had to leave. And those guys couldn't get a ticket out. And so by the time they got interviewed, they had already slept on the street one night. That was insane. I couldn't imagine, even dealing with that. So I think that it's really important that we hold a lot of space for empathy and for understanding and love for people that are having to deal with this pandemic in very different ways. Very intense situation. So I put the link up if you guys want to have a little Friday afternoon tea chat. Please feel free to visit. I'll go ahead and put it in the comments or everywhere so you can just click on this link and you can come join me. We could talk about the shutdown in India. We could talk about the shutdown of where you are. I'd love to hear how everything's going in your community. I know that here in Nevada and Las Vegas, we are definitely one of the first in the country to start phasing out of the stay-at-home orders. So now restaurants for the past week have been open at 50% capacity. So yeah, a lot of folks getting out, finally able to eat at restaurants. I haven't. I'm actually quite enjoying this time of cooking for myself and taking care of myself in my home, and I'm not in any kind of rush to be getting to the restaurants. As much as I want to support those restaurants, like I know that they're already going to be at limited capacity, and there are plenty of other people lined up ready to support them. So. It's a very interesting thing, and there's a lot of back and forth within the community about people's thoughts on whether or not everything is just going to go back to normal. Will it? Will it not? We don't know. Will we see a negative impact of this reopening that's going to have to cause us to go back to a stay-at-home order? It's really fascinating how varied the opinions are, because you have like us here and it feels very safe. It feels like it's time to get back out and to get life back going. That's just the way it feels. But then, our neighbors just down the road, just 4 hours down the road in Los Angeles, their county stay-at-home order is extended for another 3 months. And it's like we're so close and we're so common. Why we're taking very different approaches to this is interesting. I don't know if it's wrong or right. That's not what I like to think about here. I just find it fascinating, and we can see the results. We can look at the data to see how that ends up affecting everything. But ultimately, we all just need to have patience and love for one another, and continue to be entrepreneurial and inspire that entrepreneurial energy for ourselves and for the work that we're doing during this time, as well as for the people that are really struggling, that, like a lot of people are having trouble sleeping at night because they're just thinking about these issues. They're thinking about the people that are really suffering and worried for them. And I don't think that we have to be worried for them if if we're manifesting, that positive future that we want to see. So just thinking about the positive versus like worrying about the negative, I think would do a whole lot more good for us as individuals as well as a world together. Yeah, this tea is very good. I'm on my second steep now. Let's see, let's get a third steep out of this. Something else I wanted to talk about today, setting an intention for myself and my own work of what I'm going to be focusing on in the coming weeks, utilizing this platform or a similar platform. Prior to the pandemic, I was inspired by an incredible article written by an active service. Oh, my brother wants to come in. Oh, maybe he's still in Fresno. Hey, Mike. Oh, you're back home. You making some matcha? Seems like your audio is off, Mike. That's all. I saw it said it connected. Now you muted yourself.
Let's see. Am I connected now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So yeah, I just got back from California. So Austin, yeah, we're still in, at home, stay at home until the 15th of June.
Oh, but, shit. Okay. Wow.
Just got back from California, being there for 5 days.
So you were telling me that you have to be on like a 2-week quarantine now, like a self-imposed quarantine.
Yeah, it's still not. They're not able to monitor it effectively. I guess they're not prepared. In certain states, certain cities. When I exited the airport in Austin, there was a line on the exit. You go to the Texas Department of Transportation, fill out a form. There was looked like a sheriff or some type of officer over there. Or you can go to the right if you didn't come from one of those areas. So they just asked you that. They didn't verify it or anything. So, of course, I just said where I needed to say to go out the exit door without seeing the. But yeah, I mean, it's got it's gonna be hard to I think to monitor this Yeah, because if you did come from California, New York, or any major city where infection was still high, they require you to go into a 14-day quarantine, self-quarantine. So
yeah,
you would have to fill out a form and give it to the Department of Transportation, and there's $1,000 fine if they catch you out and about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think more than monitoring, I think they're just trying to instill a culture of like self quarantine, that you're going to do it yourself, because I've seen some other friends traveling and they know they're not being monitored, but they were given that form. Like in Hawaii, for instance, they're doing the 2-week quarantine if you get off a plane there from anywhere.
Yeah, I'd like to see how they're able to execute that. It's hard. I mean, it's sort of sad to see if you are traveling in about. I would say be responsible, and just seeing still a lot of people not keeping to the 6 feet or wearing masks, and just sort of worrisome. If you are going, I would say if you are going to travel and get about your business, then do it responsibly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't need monitoring. We don't need that stuff. We just need responsibility and care for one another.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say everybody start getting out and about. But yeah, like they say, it's about amount of time and the of exposure. So,
Hmm.
you know, if you're wearing a mask, you'll probably be okay. And, you know, as long as you take good hygiene and wash your hands. And just like when I got back, I just took a shower, you know, I mean, probably that's a little overboard, but, you know, just being cautious, you know, leaving your suitcase out in the sun for, you know, a few hours, you know, just,
Yeah.
and then down.
Well, yeah, I don't think the changing clothes and showering's overkill. I think that's a good idea. You've been in different places, exposed to different things.
Yeah. So for me, you know, if, you know, I do a lot of traveling through my work. So I feel confident now. I think I can travel and I feel safe and responsible.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was talking earlier about India's lockdown. They're creating all these different color coded zones, and the red zones, which Yanku and Alan from Yankee Tea Factory contacted me to tell me that they're in red zones, so they're not able to work or do anything. Um, the red zones are meant to stay on lockdown even beyond May 17th.
But are they still out in the gardens taking care of the gardens? I mean, I would think they would be able to do that, you know.
So yeah, he's telling me, they were telling me that no, that no one's out doing any kind of work.
Did they see enforcement? I mean, it comes down to a point, you know. You go out and start working, you know. So
Yeah.
even though there's a lockdown, you know, even though here in Austin it's a stay-at-home order, you know, they can't. I guess they're not saying to stay at home
Mm-hmm.
all the time, but they are opening up. You are able to travel.
Yeah.
You are get them out.
So in India, you're not able to travel. Roads are closed. It's forbidden for cars and trucks and buses. So even like the trucks that are transporting tea around, they're not able to be moving around right now. So a lot of teas are just sitting in factories waiting to get moved, if they're in red areas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you guys get some drones over there, you know, to not that far, right?
Hey, Michael Alfredo's watching. He says, "Ni hao, Michael."
Yeah. Hey, Alfredo.
Alfredo, click the link. Join us. I'll send it to you. In factories waiting to get moved. Excuse me. Sorry. It's early in the morning there, though, so he might not want to get on.
I mean, it's great to see like places like Taiwan. They're up and about. They're not in lockdown.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be great to chat with him and see, what is happening. Oh, he's driving car. He says he cannot. Of course he's driving car. Alfredo always driving car.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every article that I've read is that, Taiwan's done an incredible job of combating this and is completely open. People are totally working still. He's taking care of his son, Michael, today.
Oh, great. He probably likes driving car. His son.
Oh, yeah. His son is definitely going to love driving car.
How he gets sleep and goes to nap,
Yeah, Alfredo, when you're not driving and you can settle down, send me a message. I wanna know more about what's going on in your world. Yeah, all the restaurants here are open. Even like and a lot of them doing pretty good specials. Like the all you can eat sushi places are including, sake and beer with their all you can eat now. I'm kind of tempted. Maybe I'll go do one of those. That'd be.
I get over there.
What's that?
I said I gotta get over there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Natalie and Carlo and their family. So once Vegas opens up and Green Valley and the pool opens up, that's their signal to go.
Alfredo says he's driving all day today. Where can you drive all day in Taiwan? You'd have to drive all the way across the country.
He goes back and forth in different directions.
Up and down all the mountains. How's your matcha?
The first one, it's pretty clumpy. I don't have a strainer, but I got to the bottom of that last one, and actually, it was quite nice. Like sometimes, it's like the texture and all that, but no, it was like butter.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference of good matcha. If you're working with a really good quality matcha, even
You wouldn't want to get a grainy clump, and
Yeah.
But when it's smooth, yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
It's a little boost for me. Extra boost, right?
Yeah. It's funny. Alfredo says Taiwan safe. As he's driving his car, watching this live stream and texting so many comments. Yes, very safe, Alfredo. Very safe.
Hopefully, it's all voice automated, right?
Oh yeah. Hopefully, he's at that level.
Hey Google, Facebook message. Virtual Tea Festival live stream. Yeah, all good. I'm sure Google's that good. Look, my phone's already doing it right now. I better not say that.
Oh yeah, Alfredo, he likes his "Hey Google." Yeah, he does that all the time.
It was funny that my phone just started doing it. Yeah. Maybe I made other people's phones also do it in the live stream. Maybe.
Yeah. Hey Google, play Post Malone. That one's for Alfredo. My phone's in the middle of a live stream on Instagram, so it's not interrupting that to play Post Malone for Alfredo.
It's like a Google hack. Mm-hmm. Hey Google. Very nice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, one thing I saw is like half the pilots, I saw more pilots than anything percentage-wise not wearing face masks, and they're in there all day. It's like crazy to see them. But through some AI technology, you can definitely identify a pilot by their shoulder pads and their hat. So, and then, I wonder if it'd be interesting to see what technologies are made to monitor and analyze.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of data.
I'm sure, if you, or not even just you, I'm surprised that other people aren't talking more about that and writing about it and posting about it. Because that's concerning, right? Because spaces that have circulating ventilation, like an airplane.
Mostly for pilots. I mean, if I owned an air company, pilot's one of the most valuable assets there is, and you definitely would want to monitor them and make sure that they're safe. So
yeah, exactly. Well, and your passengers are safe too.
Yeah.
It's important. So yeah, Mike, I'm working on a new project with Jason Harris. We're gonna start filming next week. He's written an entire movie. Oh, Adam's here. Awesome. Yeah, he's written an entire movie about some characters that are all like meeting and filming through like Zoom. So it's like a modern day movie, about what we're all going through as a society right now.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty excited about it. So
mostly it's all scripted out, and and
When
then
I
you can
told
also
him
do
too,
some
I was like,
spontaneity.
so we can like totally record everything and Zoom and make it feel authentic that way. But then we can also, in your distribution of it, don't just post it to YouTube or whatever. You live stream it, and as you're live streaming it, we can have your video interacting with the audience. You know how like movies have like a subconscious, like where the main character is like doing a voiceover of like processing what's going on in the movie. He could be doing that live and like engage the audience in that part to make it more immersive.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
On.
Sweet. It's Friday.
Yes, indeed.
What tea you drinking?
I am drinking some Gyokuro.
nice.
Yes.
Umami.
It's a nice, beautiful spring day here, so that gets me in the mood for Japanese tea.
Great. I'm drinking matcha. Now I'm about to switch over. I already had 2 bowls. I think that's enough.
Nice. I did matcha this morning, and in my head, I'm like, I would not want to do matcha for one of these virtual tea parties. It's too like labor intensive just to make one cup. But like it.
Oh, I'm so easygoing. I just made it up. I mean,
someone else is like has the dedication to do it. I'm going to need to try it at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. I drink matcha sometimes, not all the time. I get so talkative, which is kind of dangerous here, because then I could be going off for like 3 hours and not stop.
I'm starting to feel it. But so Adam, I just got off an airplane. I've been flying all day today, so I figured sit down and drink some matcha would be the best energy boost. So.
I've been off matcha up until like a week ago, and then I ordered some. My mom bought me these really nice matcha confections when she went to Japan, and so I was saving them and got some nice matcha to go with them, and I finally ordered matcha, and it came in like a week or so ago. So now I've been back on matcha because I had it with those cakes in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna go from the Japanese black tea then. Let's stick with the Japanese.
Adam, were you hearing earlier what I was talking about India?
No, I came in and you were saying something about filming.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. No, so yeah, like earlier in the hour, I was talking about the latest updates of the lockdown in India.
So I did read about that before, like the end. Yeah, I have a reminder for one of our suppliers that needs to get us some information, and they've been very delayed on it because of the lockdown. So I did read that, from what I understand, they've extended the lockdown yet again through the end of the month with some stipulations. Maybe you can elaborate a little more.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to maybe I'll elaborate what I can, and then maybe you can augment it because I know you're keeping up on this, so it's just relevant that we talk about it. So yeah, the date was the 17th, but now it's like only green and orange zones are going to be opened, and all of the red zones, which is pretty much every city. Even Darjeeling, the entire region of Darjeeling is deemed a red zone. And that's all based off of number of cases and, the reduction of number of cases day by day. But on the 17th, they are going to do a major reanalysis of the different color zones. So there's a chance that places like Darjeeling would be removed from that list on the 17th, and then the restrictions would be lifted. But something else that's like been conflicting that I'm really confused about is, like there was plenty of articles talking about the tea board getting clearance for the tea companies to get back to work at 50% labor capacity. So I just assumed that factories were banging again and the estates were banging again. But I spoke with the family that we work with in Darjeeling last night, and they told me that it's a very dire situation. And I said, well, why is that? And I thought they were talking about just themselves. And they said, no, like the entire area of Darjeeling is red zone, and we're not allowed to go out. We're not allowed to work. We're not allowed to do anything. And so I felt like really confused because like other articles say that all the estates are working and people are working again. So, and then there's another thing that started going around yesterday, and the family also cited this as a major issue, is that all of the it's mostly men in the families. They leave the village to go work in the cities, and when the lockdown happened, they all flocked back to the village, and so now there's like an influx of more people, and not the infrastructure to support them. So yeah, that's another big issue happening in the tea growing areas. Hi, Jeremy.
So part of the issue, like Elise, I looked at the details very briefly before the end of my workday, so you actually have an understanding about the stipulations with a higher level of detail than I do. Other than like I know, like I read that like Rajasthan, for example, is obviously not a red zone because stipulations aren't applying for them to the same degree. So stuff like that. I didn't read into like how they've broken down the color zones. Your explanation makes perfect sense. As far as Darjeeling specifically, I have some insight. I got an email from someone today about what's been going on in Assam, which I think the situation in Darjeeling is not particularly different. Where in Assam, same thing, like 50% of the workforce is allowed to work. And the other factor here is that the lockdown went into effect basically right when when harvest time for the first flush began.
Yes.
So that was so much. So once restrictions on the lockdown were eased at all, where the estates were in a situation where they had essentially lost their first flush. And so now what they had to do was skiff the bushes with 50% of their labor force.
Yeah.
So they have additional labor to do that's not going to generate any income, and their ability to do that to perform that labor is held back because they have a smaller labor force, and they're trying to catch up with this labor of skipping the bushes so that they are ready for the second flush. And they're at a point now where they're, still backpedaling and playing catch up, and thus, what the producer said to us is they're producing at about 50% capacity, and that's probably what it's going to be through this entire season because they're just playing catch up, working, and they're working with the labor force right now.
Yeah.
In high season for harbor.
Yeah.
So.
There's still plenty coming in from the fall, so don't worry. There'll be plenty of Darjeeling.
And it will help, but they're already waiting time. So, sorry, Michael, you were starting to talk just as I was.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. It sounded like I was finished, and then I added a concluding thought. What were you saying?
Yeah, you're just saying like the percentage of Darjeeling tea is going to be reduced, because of this, by 25%. And my comment, just a quirky comment, that they'll just bring more tea from Nepal, and there'll be plenty of Darjeeling to go around. Because Nepal, they're still making all the tea, so there'll be plenty.
Yeah, well, I think Nepal is also having lockdown issues very similar to India as well.
Could be,
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Nepal's volume is much lower in general. So if they're down, if their production is down 50%, that's nothing to be like, nothing to be dismissive about, but the 50% of 1,000 versus 50% of 2,000 is like, I get it. There are fewer people and less land, and perhaps I'm speaking off the cuff here, so I'm not entirely certain what I'm saying, but my initial perception would be that Nepal's capability to navigate it and possibly make up for it they may be better positioned in that regard. Would you say that would be accurate?
I see a lot of Darjeeling producers going in. They're already going into Nepal. They already have been getting tea, bringing it into Darjeeling and putting it under their brand. So there's much more gardens up in Nepal, I would say, than Darjeeling. I don't know, Elise, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot in Nepal. There's a lot more. I would say Nepal's growing is more than Darjeeling's growing area. But there's also more expansive growing areas around Darjeeling in India than Darjeeling itself as well. But I mean, overall, there is going to be a reduction in supply. So I talked to our contacts in Assam, and they're able to produce and do their thing as usual, but they're not. They're not, just blindly producing tea and hoping the market will take it. They're only producing tea for orders that they get, and all their prices have increased 30% right now. And I was like, well, why has that? And they said it's because of lowered supply and the market price will go up. So this is a very complicated issue where, if as buyers, we did want to go buy tea right now because of the limited supply, because of the lockdown, prices are higher. So we're going to have to decide if we want to buy it or not at that increased price. And, a lot of companies, unfortunately, and Adam, you probably work with a lot more that feel this pressure than like our clients. Our clients are a bit more flexible and willing to handle price variations because of issues than like larger buyers that like have their own margins and their own stuff they're dealing with, where even a 10% increase in price can make or break that deal, where they'll just seek it out from somewhere else.
10%, try like 2 penny increase in price per pound.
Okay, yeah.
Those are the kind of like differences that I get into arguments with clients about.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting dynamic, and so that conflict itself is going to create, even in bigger. So then the demand's going to go down because they're gonna say no. Well, we got to go find the tea that fits our price and fits our needs. So, they may go develop, supply chains from Kenya or other places that will satisfy what they're looking for. So yeah, like our friends, that's why they're like, hey, we're just going to sit back. We're doing okay. If people order the tea and consent to that 30% price increase, then we'll make the tea for them and it'll be fine. But I'm sure other factories aren't bigger factories that are used to supplying to bigger buyers are in a much more difficult position. Go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing that I anticipate keeping me up at night a little more is air freight. Some of the work stream that my boss is throwing on me is just kind of he's throwing at me like the clients that are more work for him than he feels they're worth, basically, where they're ordering like large enough volumes that they should be dealing with us, but small enough volumes that it's like it's so much work and it's not making enough money. So it's not enough money or enough volume to like merit the level of attention that it requires of him. So that kind of work is getting thrown on me. Often when you deal with that, especially when you're dealing with new clients, when I'm dealing with new clients who want to like develop new products, sometimes they'll want to air freight material over to the US, which is always more expensive, always more complicated, always a bigger headache. And it's that much more so now because so much of air freight shipments get to where they go because they are put onto commercial passenger flights. And when there are fewer people flying just as passengers, then there are fewer flights to air freight cargo.
Yeah.
So the price of air freight, already expensive, goes up, and the number of opportunities to actually get things onto an airplane to fly over goes down. I mean, when I was at Starbucks, whenever we had to deal with air freighting, we were always saying, like, why do they even do that? They only save themselves about a couple of weeks. They only get there a couple of weeks sooner. I don't even know if these companies are going to save themselves time if they try to air freight things now, because of how difficult it is to get the things on a plane.
Yeah.
The price that they're actually.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Elise? Have you seen air freight go up from like India or?
So air freight's impossible from India right now. Any kind of freight, is impossible. I think FedEx might still be working. That would be the only way I've seen tea moved. But we are in the middle of an air freight, transaction right when the lockdown was starting, and now the tea is stuck. Like they can't do anything. So yeah, I'm assuming that once things is rolling, I mean, we already had secured that, that contract for that freight before. So, the price is not going to change on it, but,
waiting for an airplane.
Yeah, the client is wanting to cancel it, because they've been waiting too long for the tea. But, it's kind of a tricky situation. It's like, okay, well, if we cancel it and then you want to order the tea again, it's going to potentially cost twice as more, 3 times more. So, it's a hard decision to make if you're just going to be patient and wait, or if you, going to try to process that order. Yeah, I think the price of everything is going to go up. Some of my friends here in Vegas, so Nevada is starting to open up since the past week. One of the first states to start opening up. So hair salons and restaurants, like there's a lot of stipulations about capacity and how they can operate, but they are starting to open up. And a lot of my friends are commenting about, like their haircut has gone from $13 to $20.
Wow.
And I think that those are just going to be little differences that we're going to see throughout our lives, just because of the extra complications and difficulties, due to everything that's been happening.
Elise, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. In that same vein, noticing a lot of your posts about cooking and your subscription to the CSA, I'm coming across articles in regards to the price increase of a lot of grocery items, which, from my perspective, I feel like to a fairly large degree, and I'm saying I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this because I suspect it may feel similar to you. To a fairly large degree, I've been immune to that because I'm already investing more money in the type of food I buy, and the type of food I buy is kind of immune to those problems because I have such a focus on buying local and artisanal products that are either going to be like limited quantity or higher in price to begin with. Mm-hmm. I mean, worst case scenario, there's like I eat a lot. The ratio of vegetables versus meat I eat is like much higher. So that sort of scenario, there's a little bit of less meat available because now you've got like specialty producers like competing with the commodity ones. Kind of the pricing, the gap between price getting a little bit closer. But otherwise, I've got a CSA subscription now too, so. Like so many of these prices, I don't notice as much.
Yeah. Well, because you had a different frame of value before all of this went down. You were more prepared. Like your priorities and values. Obviously, if you were already paying more for local artisanal products before all this happened, like you prioritized your food higher in your value chain than maybe other things that you consume. But for most people, and this is, speaking on like the same kind of motivations of like the buyers that we're talking about that can't even handle like a 2% price increase because they don't prioritize that value. So like buyers like that are going to prioritize advertising. They're going to prioritize their packaging. They're going to prioritize these other things, like let's say like the advertisers that they use for distributing the commercials that they make for their product. Those guys are increasing their prices all the time, and there's wiggle room there because they're prioritizing that as a value in their business versus the supply. And so this is the same thing for like the mass consumer in the Western world. It's different in different places. But most people don't prioritize their food as their value. They're like, I think it's like 4 to 8% of the average person, the average American's income is going towards their food. That's crazy. Like for me, like I'm comfortable like at 30% of my income going towards my food. Like that's a priority for me.
My going towards food. It's well above 4 to 8%. I can tell you that without hesitation.
Yeah. So, I think that this is great. Like by this thing, the prices coming, to this meeting point that you're talking about is forcing people to reevaluate their values. To think about their food more. And it's going to happen. So all the restaurants are opening up and, they're all talking about, hey, like we're going to have to change our menus because like meat prices have gone up so crazy that, and then also we have to run at smaller capacities. So like our fixed costs are going to remain the same, but then, like we're going to be able to do less business. So prices are going to have to go up for dining. And I think that there's a lot of room for that. Like, I think the experience of going to a restaurant and dine should become like a very, very high value experience for us. Like we should still enjoy it and still do it, but we should be prepared to spend a greater amount of our income on that experience because we're really going to value it versus just like this commodity, like everyday experience of like, 5 days a week I go eat at a restaurant and, have a 3-course meal. It's like, dude, that's a valuable experience.
I would really hope that the movement toward abolishing tipping gains more traction as well.
Yeah.
In this situation, because I think part of this larger problem as well.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. What do you think of all this, Jeremy?
Well, it's interesting because Indiana started opening up last week. So I think we're ahead of the curve with most of the country. Mm-hmm. But restaurants are open too, but I think it's typical safety precautions in like half capacity. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, it really depends. Like it kind of like it depends on the city, because Terre Haute never was the type of city that valued anything of that kind. So, I think we're more likely to snap back to normal, and everybody eager to get back to their normal way of life. But I can see in other places how priorities would probably change in a very real way. I don't see that happening here. But I think it's just what your value system was to begin with. I think that's really the base. Yeah.
So you're saying that the restaurants are only able to operate at half capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're dealing with the same food supply chain issues. You guys are closer to like the big food hub, but I'm sure there's still some supply chain issues that are causing the prices of ingredients to go up. I don't think that Indiana restaurants are immune to that. So yeah, there's going to be a tipping point where you won't go back to normal. Like prices are going to go up. Prices may go up twice as much or 3 times as much. And do you imagine your neighbors valuing going out to eat casually enough to be willing to pay 3 times more?
No.
So yeah, that'll cause change,
Yeah. But it'd be interesting, like just basic prices. If you're actually gonna get used to paying more for anything when prices come back down again, whether it's this fall or next spring or whenever, if they can actually adjust to that new budget, then it kind of bodes well for more premium products, because they'll just stick to the same price point.
Right. Yeah, and that's the good thing. Yeah, and I think that's what Adam was kind of saying, is that like there's going to be a point where because the pricings are very different now. Like tea is a good example. Like buying a box of tea bags versus buying high quality loose leaf tea, like the gram per gram price comparison is very different now. But there's going to be a point where this one's going to have to go up. And this one, doesn't really have to go up that much. Maybe it'll go up like 20% or something, but the commodity price is going to go up because all of the fixed costs are still going to be there, but then the scale is not going to be there. And that's going to be the case for a couple of years. It really, really is, so.
But I haven't been out yet to restaurants to actually see whether or not there are any sort of dramatic price changes. I think we're all anticipating it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it for myself yet. But yeah, I don't think anybody's going into these places going to be shocked that things aren't the same price.
Yeah. I think
that realization has set in pretty concretely with everybody by now.
I haven't seen any price increases, and I haven't seen anybody, like any of my friends, because I have a lot of friends that own restaurants here in town that are opened, and everybody just announced we're open, we're doing our thing. No one announced anything about price increases. I think those price increases are going to be a little delayed. It's going to take some time, until the books come out and everybody, after a couple of weeks, and everybody sees, oh crap, we got to adjust something here to make it work. It may be a little while before we see those price increases, because everybody's just like so excited about getting back to work and getting back to normal. And the last thing a business owner wants to do is increase their prices. Like it scares the heck out of anybody, because like, oh yeah, my customer is going to, not buy it because it's going to be too expensive. But when your business is hemorrhaging so bad, you have to at some point, And I don't think
It'd be interesting if why not do it now? Because I think now is the time when everybody could rationally say, I get this.
Mm-hmm.
I get why I said, if it's like, let's keep the same prices, bring the same customers back, get them back in their routine, and then raise prices on them in 2 or 3 months, I think there might be a little pushback from that.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's important to keep in mind that they're not going to be, none of these restaurants are going to be raising or lowering or maintaining the same prices in a vacuum. They're reopening and they're placing orders and they're going to look at those invoices, and they'll look at the invoices from their last order. And if they see a dramatic difference in certain things that's going to have an impact on their food costs, then they're going to adjust their prices so that they can make sure that they're meeting food costs that's going to allow them to stay open. So I don't think I don't think any of them are. Most of them were actually paying attention to their books on a regular basis, which any of the restaurants that are able to open back up probably have been spending some time doing that. Are probably. I don't think they're strategizing. Maybe we'll raise prices a couple weeks or a couple months down the road. I think they're looking and seeing, what do we need to do to make sure that we're covering our costs in the way that's going to allow us to keep the lights on.
Yeah. No, I think Jeremy, that's the ideal world. That. I have one friend, Jenny, she does these sometimes. She comes on. I know she was spending a lot of time looking at her books while they were closed and changing prices. So she proactively was like, yeah, when we reopen, it's going to be a whole new system and it's going to be smooth and, we're going to be more resilient. But I don't think a lot of restaurant owners were having that time, or maybe they were doing it, but, they're just in such a hurry to open back up. And there may be some delay, but it would have been really fascinating if I owned a restaurant, I would totally be doing something like this, and day by day, letting my community know what's going on. So then, yeah, it's not a curveball for them. They're totally expecting it and totally wanting it and motivating and encouraging and saying, yeah, you should raise your price. Yeah, we should get rid of tipping and making sure that your employees are just taken care of. We want to support a more, solid foundation for your restaurant that we love to meet at and enjoy. So, yeah.
I've got a friend in Dallas who is really, I've been very impressed with how he has managed to think outside the box for his establishments in the midst of this whole thing. He's got a poke place and a seafood market / grill. He's got a couple locations of each. And in the most immediate sense, as Texas is starting to gradually reopen, he said, okay, as a business owner, I understand that reopening in the midst of a pandemic carries a lot of liability. And I'm not taking that lightly, regardless of what the government orders and stipulations are. I have a business that I need to run. I need to get butts in the seats. I need to get people to spend money. So if I'm given that opportunity, I'm going to make it happen. At the same time, I don't want someone to get sick in my restaurant and be liable for it. So he has some sort of joint venture with friends of his where he coordinated getting all of his employees tested daily and having a testing tent at one of his restaurants. He's like, listen, if you want to come eat somewhere safely, I'm pretty sure this is the only place where you're going to know that everyone who's serving you is getting tested regularly. And if the results were anything but 100% negative COVID, do you really think I would be bragging about this? Number one. And number two, he said, okay, so dining room is allowed to open, but I need this dining room to open to you all safely. So what I'm going to do is I'm offering a the first Friday that we're reopen, 4-course pre-fee wine dinner open to X number of people. So marketing, it's creating exclusivity, drawing, adding value to the dinner and limiting the number of people there and making sure that everyone's getting highly attentive service because they have a smaller crew. They have a smaller crew of labor working. So they need to have a smaller group of people in the restaurant. Smart, pretty smart. I'm impressed with him.
There's a lot of
Well, I would
costs
say,
on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it's the restaurants that are being innovative and changing, and I mean, mostly for those type of restaurants where they're really specific to dine in and about the dine in experience, and that you really these type of customers wouldn't really order online. They even have it even tougher because they have to think of high even harder in their marketing, and just like your example. So I think for now the restaurants that we see now that have successfully done the online ordering successfully, have grown that business. I think that's going to be a big part of it, is having that takeout, along with the 50%, 25% dine in. It's like the Chipotle story. They got their online and they increased their online sales at 80%. So they were almost able to reverse people from dining in to takeout. So.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Going to be really interesting to see where it ends up, where the pricing ends up. It's like just really unknown. Where is the value of the things that we just kind of mindlessly consumed in the past? It's not going to be mindless anymore. We're really going to have to evaluate. Okay, this is going to really cost me some money. How much do I value it? And I think it'll continue. Like, restaurants will thrive. I think they'll be more limited and more exclusive, like your friend. Like what he's created there is very creative, and I think it's very much the future. And we're going to pay a high price for it, but we're really going to enjoy it, and we're really going to value it. And the rest of our eating is either going to be at home, because like we've built up a lot of confidence in how to buy, store, and cook and enjoy food in our home. But I think that there's also another segment that we haven't gotten to ever enjoy here in America that like I'm really going to advocate for and campaign for, which is street food, or our version of street food, whatever that may be, but more localized and distributed making and selling of food. That a lot of the cooks and the servers and the people that have been working in food are no longer going to have as many jobs available. It could be a really good opportunity for them to service their local communities. But just in the States, it's so difficult for that to happen because our food code is just so prohibitive from legally serving someone hot food. You got to have like commercial kitchen, which costs a fortune. Then you have all your licensing and your insurances, and I think that there's a lot of room for the government to create the path for people to do it safely, right? Like it's still going to be important for us to expect safe and sanitary, food cooking from the businesses that we support, but make it so that someone could do it out of their own kitchen. And
I would love to see that gain traction. I would support you advocating for that. I don't have a whole lot of faith in our government being prioritizing that to the point that they would need to in order for it to make a meaningful difference. But I'm very much in agreement with you that in regards to the value of that.
Some of the best meals I've had in my life were like in people's just like makeshift kitchen, out of their house, just making really dank good food. And they do it on a daily. Like the best meal I think I've ever had was like my friend would take me to go see his friend in Antigua when I lived in Antigua, and he'd make like fried fish and the fofo, like the cornmeal, like it's like polenta with sauce. Very simple dishes that he was just able to cook in like large kettles and have enough to serve 20 people throughout the day, and he charged like $10 for a meal. And it was a humble little lifestyle for him, and he was just happy. He, just like a restaurant owner, a lot of times they're not owning a restaurant because they want to become like a huge empire builder. Like they just want to host their community and like serve their community. But it's cost a freaking fortune to do that here. Even to run a food truck, it costs a fortune. It's and it's super risky. And you're
in
like,
Austin, it's food truck, culture over here in Austin, because getting a brick and mortar is so expensive. So, a lot of food trucks do well here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a fortune for them to run a food truck. It's still a lot of money. It might not be as much as a brick and mortar, but
compared to street food pretty much anywhere else in the world, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I was so inspired. I came out of a concert a couple of months ago, back in the day when we could go to concerts on the Strip. There's a venue on the Strip, and we came out of the venue, and there was like lined up like 4 or 5 guys that had these like makeshift little carts. They totally just made themselves it, and it had like the bacon wrapped hot dogs, and nice. It was like this little cart. But it had to be like hideable. So like you could tell that each one of them had like an exit strategy. Like if the police came or whatever, they were able to like pull this tarp over their little cart. The cart was like not that this big, it's a small little cart, and they were just making their hot dogs there, selling them for $5, and people were super grateful. Like the people buying them, because like they were hungry, there was no place for them to, and $5 is like a really affordable snack for, a tasty little thing like that, hot food. And these guys were making, for their perspective, they were making a killing. They sell 100 hot dogs, that's $500. They're pretty happy about that. But they had to do it under this, like, huge threat and, like, being prepared to, like, throw something over your cart and run the heck out of there because, there could be legal consequences to it. Yeah.
Yep. Alfredo in Taiwan had an idea. He wanted to get like a little moped with a potato roaster. So it's like roasting like 100 potatoes. You just sort of sell potatoes for $5, drive around. Some roast potatoes.
I'd buy a roasted potato from Alfredo on a moped. Hell yeah.
It's interesting. I knew some guy. I know someone in town. He started a food truck. He was a senior at ISU when he had the idea, and he and his buddy got together. It was interesting because it wasn't an issue getting the truck, getting the loans, getting the certifications, anything like that, and the county didn't care what he did or where he did it. It's just that the city didn't like him, and it was the first time anybody ever had like a mobile food truck in the city of Terre Haute, and they either panicked and didn't know what to do, or it was just they did not help him at all. So he went to Indianapolis and made a fortune.
Wow!
And then he also goes down to Bloomington, which is huge college campus, makes a ton of money there. So he's based out of Terre Haute, but the city, there's so much pushback from the city that he just couldn't do anything here.
Yeah.
But Indianapolis loves him. Bring him to Indianapolis. Bloomington loves him.
Wow.
Why the city cares? It
would have been, you'd think it would be backwards. Like, let it happen, but, you all the costs are too much. But here it didn't work like that.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people that do like private markets, like the Covered Bridge Festival and all the fair, the Midwestern, the fairs, the markets, all that stuff. And, some of the best candy and some of the best baked goods you'll ever have. But the upkeep on the commercial kitchen license was so high that I knew several people that just couldn't keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that balance isn't quite there. You have the people that can afford all the fees, but they can't get the permits. You can get the people that can easily get the permits, but they can't afford the fees. yeah, there needs to be some. I guess they need help in some way. There needs to be some balance to it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be my work. If you guys ever see me doing any kind of political activity or anything like that, it's for this. Yeah, that's my campaign.
We can do some really good guerrilla marketing on that. I think
Yeah,
have
Street
a
Food
lot of fun with it.
2020. We could totally do it. Oh, there goes our uh, the planes in celebration of the frontline workers. Yeah, maybe we could do that. Maybe like make a campaign for like all of the hospitality workers that are out of work. Like get them all like on one day. We're all gonna like defy local, food code law, and just like make a restaurant out of our front yard, like a lemonade stand type of a thing, and just have everybody doing it, and get everybody all fired up about.
They were doing that in San Francisco, right? Some of these like pop up, these like famous chefs that get together, sort of, like how they get their name out. They can't get into the big restaurants, so they do these like really unique, pop up.
Yeah, well, and those things still happen, but even those things cost money. Like if you legally want to do a pop up here in Southern Nevada, you have to get a special permit for it, which costs like a couple $100. Then you have to do all of your work inside a commercial kitchen, and the food inspector comes to your pop up. Before you're allowed to legally serve any food, they have to certify that your holding temperatures are all right, that you have proper refrigeration, and that the hand washing station is all set up right. It's a huge bother. It's not like just something that's like accessible, for anybody to do. I just miss street food. There's so much good street food around the world, and like we never get to enjoy that here. And I think that would just be such a great solution for the issue we're having with our service industry workers that are facing a very uncertain future.
And just gotta get to Taiwan's playbook.
Yeah, and Taiwan does it well, dude.
They do great,
And I'm sure there's permitting and there's licensing and there's accountability from the community about quality control and all of that on their street food, but it's like super affordable. And people, before they go to work, they stop and get some street food. Even like top corporate professionals do that. They're assured that it's going to be affordable, good quality, Instead we have fast food. That's what we have here. Our alternative to that is friggin' McDonald's, which is like but even that is on a crumbly foundation right now because of the whole like the meat supply chain. They go through so much meat and commodity products that any shift in supply chain is really a big threat to them. I heard like 25% of Wendy's don't have beef right now. They're not like serving hamburgers because.
Wow.
Yeah. Wendy's is unique though. I know this just because I used to work at a meat processing plant and we did all of the patties for Wendy's in Hawaii. And the reason why we did it, like everywhere else, they have central distribution centers where, the patties are made and frozen and one central place can handle distribution for a whole region. But Wendy's prides themselves on using all fresh beef. They don't use frozen. So they have to have a distributed network of meat processing plants to supply their beef to them. So they're much less like vertically integrated in their beef supply than the other fast food chains. But it was only a matter of time until even McDonald's gets hit with this issue. Do you guys have some big plans for the weekend?
not big plans, but
food.
Cooking, cleaning.
Michael, you're gonna be cooking?
Maybe, but probably not. I'll go find some good food around.
Get some tacos.
Yeah, we got the torchy tacos. Yeah, they're pretty good. But yeah, there's many different taco stands here in Austin. You know, we're known for the tacos here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm craving some tacos now. I don't know what I'm gonna cook this weekend. Something good.
I'm gonna do chilaquiles this weekend. So Mexicans.
You're gonna do what? I'm sorry, Adam.
Huh?
I didn't hear you. You said you're gonna do what this weekend?
I'm gonna make chilaquiles this weekend.
Oh, yum.
I as I said, I subscribed to a CSA, and I got some tomatoes this week that were like kind of generic tomatoes. So I was going to make some salsa for the chilaquiles without tomatoes, but since I got those tomatoes, I'm like, all right, I'll just grill these and then add them to the salsa. So I made a couple batches of salsa, and then I'm gonna do chilaquiles with them, with the salsa and the leftover roast chicken that I have.
That sounds good. I made a mole last week. That was my big. That took hours and hours and hours.
You said didn't you say it like? I think you just said it that you started at like 3 p.m. and it was done the next day or something like that. Or?
Yeah. And then so that was for the first dish I made. I made the molcajete, which is like the spice grinder thing. You heat that up and you can plate. Like it's usually like a surf and turf thing. But I just, plated whatever I had, bacon and fried plantains and the chicken that was cooked in the mole with lots of cheese. But then after that, I had a whole bunch of mole left, because I made a huge crock pot full of it. So I went to my parents' house and made enchiladas there.
Nice.
And that made all the tortillas from scratch and everything. And so that was in a big casserole dish. And so I popped that in the freezer, and a couple days ago, I've been eating that over the past couple of days. So it's definitely a meal that keeps giving.
I'm looking forward to this week. I ordered some gumbo filet spice, which I've been wanting to make some gumbo, and in particular in the spring, I like to make a green gumbo because a lot of like spring greens are in season. So I put together like a very large mass of chopped greens, and that's kind of the bait for the gumbo after I make the roux. But that gumbo filet spice, I just feel like gumbo's just not the same without it. So my shipment of that should finally be coming in this week, so I can make some gumbo. So I'm excited about that. I'll do the green gumbo, and then I bought just before this, I went and picked up a smoked chicken, so I'm gonna do like a smoked chicken and sausage gumbo as well. Yeah.
Yum.
Sweet. All right, I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. Jeremy, are you gonna go hit up any of those restaurants?
I might have to this whole. I haven't stocked up on anything since I've moved. So yeah, I've been relying on local food, but I think it is time. I got to go out and investigate for myself.
Yeah.
The state of the restaurant industry in Terre Haute.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would be willing to go do is the all-you-can-eat sushi. That would be the only thing to pull me from all of my great cooking that's going on at home.
Should see if I think Terre Haute's one great contribution to the culinary world was the cheeseburger with glazed donuts as buns.
Oh wow.
Square donuts, actually. But I don't think they opened up yet. Fifi's. They actually got into an article, like it was 50 things you have to do in the state of Indiana, like before you die list. And one of them was the glazed donut cheeseburger from Fifi's in Terre Haute.
Yeah, we have one of those places here in Austin, the donut burgers.
Yeah. So when people ask, they said that's Terre Haute's contribution right there. That's all we can offer you.
Yeah, nothing is really reopening here. I'm still in one of the hottest spots in the country, so everything's still to go, and the shelter in place is still in effect. So
Yeah. How long? Like, what's the current outlook date for you guys, Adam?
I should check on that. I think it's currently like end of the month or early June, but I don't remember exactly what Governor Murphy said, what he last said. I know that from the standpoint of work, I know that next week they're now essentially opening our office back up so people can go back into the office. It's mainly for people who work in R&D and do lab work, which I do some of that. So I'm probably going to be going back to the office more often. But my position is still kind of fluid because like so much of my work I can do fine, just fine remotely.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, my boss is older and he's farther away. So he's less inclined to come back as often. The other guy we've got on our team who's in logistics, most of his work he can do remotely, so it's not a priority that he's coming back. And the two other people on our team have kids, so they don't really have the flexibility to be coming back in. So, but yeah, anyway, the office is supposed to be open back up next week.
How many people in total work in your office?
Like 25.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean they've said it's mainly for if you can work from home, continue working from home. But if there's stuff that you would really be able to be more effective at doing in the office, then the office is open regularly for all intents and purposes, is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, my office is open. I have my first meeting scheduled here on Tuesday.
Oh wow!
A meeting with a coffee shop that's going to be opening up. What a crazy time to be opening a new business right now. But
God, yeah, that sounds frightening.
Yeah, they're very optimistic, so that's cool. You know, they're in a great location that you know, it's the downtown arts district. So, you know, there's still a lot of foot traffic there, and as far as I see, all the restaurants there are still open. Makers and Finders is open. They're doing all their indoor and outdoor seating. But this new coffee shop, it's exciting. I'm excited to sit with them and see what their vision is and what they're looking for. But we have some coffee roasters here in town, and then we have some. I guess they could be considered fourth wave, but they're not really like coffee focused. They're more like food and like loungy kind of vibe focus. This coffee shop wants to do like really focus on the fourth wave and then also do a really excellent tea program. So yeah, I'm excited to meet with them and come up with some strategies here in town. Of course, there'll be matcha. Vegas is like, our matcha game is on point, you know, because like they're fortunate enough to be able to connect with us and get their matcha quickly and affordably, because you know they can just come pick it up. All our coffee shops here in town pretty much have good matcha because we've made sure of it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But it's hard to get them to step up the rest of the tea, because like, you know, they're just so like dedicated to the tea bag, or you know, like the flavored stuff that they've been used to that's at a different price point. So we could use more good tea other than just matcha. At least the matcha is there. The matcha that's like sold in most coffee shops is just such a shame. It's like it's not even matcha, and it's like already mixed with the sugar and the milk powder and all of that. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna sign out. But it's been good catching up, Adam. Thank you for coming in and
my pleasure. Yeah,
asking the hard questions as always.
Thank you, Elite.
Yeah, and Jeremy, it was good to see you.
Yeah. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, man. I hope you have a good weekend. Hey, good luck with your new house and getting back on your track. If you need an accountability buddy, I'm here for you, man.
Say that again?
I said if you need an accountability buddy for your podcast, getting back on track with all your plans, I'm here to support you in that.
Okay, I might have to. I definitely might need your help soon. Then.
Yeah, please. I want to help you. I want to see you thrive in that.
Yeah, but at least having better space, a new space, more like office style. So at least for the first time, I actually have like tea room, office, bedroom separated by walls. This is very exciting.
Woohoo! And a foosball table. That's good.
And foosball table taken out of storage. They finally have room for it. I had to disassemble the whole thing and like take the rust off, but it's nearing completion.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Let's take care.
All right. Next weekend.